Tonight on CTV3 News. After being missing for more than a month, the body of 29-year-old Raheem Usher is discovered in the outskirts of San Antonio Village in Orange Walk. All indications are he was shot twice to the head. Usher's killer or killers leave handwritten note behind which accuses officers of being involved in drug plane landing. Former convict turned officer back behind bars after shooting incident. And the sample ballots for upcoming general elections are released. In the case of the UDP, could there be voter confusion? These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Thursday, February 27, 2025.
Escape to paradise. Centaur is giving you the chance to win an unforgettable getaway at the breathtaking Orchid Bay Resort. Picture this: a stunning beach and a relaxing poolside retreat. One lucky winner will enjoy an overnight stay for two, plus a delicious breakfast, all courtesy of Orchid Bay Resort. How to enter? Sign up for any Centaur service or stay up to date with your payments for a chance to win. Live raffle draw on April 16th on Despierta Belize show. Enter now to win with Centaur.
Good evening. With your news also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7, I am Joanna Rodriguez. He had been reported missing since late January, and his family were offering a hefty reward for information about his whereabouts. However, this morning, the search for 29-year-old Raheem Usher came to a close when his body was found in the outskirts of San Antonio Village here in the Orange Walk district. Usher was shot twice to the head, his hands were bound with handcuffs, and his body was wrapped in plastic and then discarded on the side of the road. Even more troubling is an ominous threat left on a sheet beside the body, accusing various elements of the Corozal police formation of illegal drug plane landings. The case seems to be one coming out of a cartel movie, and today when police addressed the media, they themselves had more questions than answers.
Early Thursday morning, residents of the quiet village of San Antonio stumbled upon a horrific scene while commuting to work. At approximately 6:30 a.m., commuters on board a bus reported a body wrapped in a black plastic bag lying just off the road, close to the bridge at the entrance of the village. According to eyewitness accounts, the victim's hands were visible, while his body and face were covered in plastic. Upon receiving the alarming reports, police quickly arrived at the scene and, as they made their investigations, began to suspect that the remains were that of 29-year-old Raheem Usher, who had been reported missing by his family since January 25th. A reward of $15,000 was previously offered for information regarding his disappearance. Shortly before 10 a.m., Usher's family arrived and confirmed the tragic news, identifying his remains. The body was not only covered in a black plastic bag, secured with clear plastic tape, but his eyes and mouth were also bound with duct tape and electrical tape. Additionally, Usher's hands were retained with handcuffs, and he bore 2 gunshot wounds to the forehead, believed to be the cause of death. Despite being missing for over a month, the state of the body showed little decomposition, suggesting that death might have occurred more recently. Adding to the macabre scene, nearby lay a handwritten note on a piece of cloth that implicated specific police officers from the Corozal formation, claiming their involvement in illegal drug landings. The ominous message read, "This is going to happen to all those who continue to be, quote, chapulines, bringing down planes with drugs." Senior Superintendent Christopher Noble, the Northern Regional Commander, addressed the media regarding the investigation.
What we have is a deceased male who has been confirmed to be the missing person from Libercat, and he exhibited injury. The body exhibited injury and has been taken to the forensic lab.
Authorities are wary of speculation regarding cartel involvement based on the note found with Usher's body, but acknowledge that such theories will be explored further.
Whatever message, it's a part of our investigation, which started on or around the 25th of January, and it is continuing now with this new information. We are going at what we're supposed to be doing as in with the investigators. As we now have a body, we have, as you say, a message to somebody, because that's none to me. And we move forward with our investigation.
When questioned about the handcuffs found on Usher, Senior Superintendent Chris Noble stated that ongoing investigation will determine if they are police issued.
If handcuffs were found on his hands and he was bound by handcuffs, then I'll go back to it being a part of our investigation.
Do the police have any way of identifying handcuffs? Do you have like special markings? Was that the case with this one? These ones found on his hands? Were you able to determine if they were assigned to anybody from the department?
Investigators on the ground 2, that there are specific markings will be revealed based on the investigation that I can't see at this point. They were, or that a serious number would have led us back to a policeman. We need to understand that some items or items that are found with persons are readily available on the open market.
As police await a post-mortem examination to establish a timeline for Usher's death, the message left with his body has heightened concern within the community about potential threats from organized crime. Noble assured that everyone named in the note will be thoroughly investigated. Reporting for CTV3 News, Norma Ruiz.
The discovery of Raheem Usher's remains this morning here in the north has undoubtedly raised concern about the possibility of increased narco activity in the area. The Northern Regional Commander for the Police Department, Senior Superintendent Christopher Noble, confirmed that authorities have been conducting non-stop patrols in the area in an effort to deter any illicit activity, particularly in border communities.
We have a patrol strategy. It encompasses the entire northern area. The border point has seen specific units assigned and specific assets assigned to those units for that purpose.
2024, the government of Belize made the decision to allocate $1 million for police efforts in the north, where illegal activity believed to be associated with Mexican cartels were on the rise. These resources, according to Noble, have been put to good use and operations continue across the northern region.
What the government allocates is for us to do work, and we utilize it as wisely as we can, sir.
Police Constable Sheldon Arzu has been charged with dangerous harm after he allegedly shot 24-year-old Emil Rivers during a tense police standoff. The confrontation occurred on January 24th when officers were dispatched to a reported disturbance involving Rivers, who was seen armed. Footage from bystanders shows 3 police officers attempting to subdue Rivers when Arzu, who had previously been welcomed back into the force, fired his weapon, striking Rivers in the abdomen. On Wednesday, a judge ordered Arzu to be remanded to Hattieville Prison without bail, the same facility where he served a 13-year sentence for manslaughter after killing a man during an altercation at the Key Cocker police station in 2005. His previous conviction has led many to question how he was allowed to return to a position of authority and responsibility. Police Commissioner Chester Williams announced that Arzu is currently suspended pending the investigation into the shooting incident. The northern sugar industry has been on pause from milling since last week. The industry cited bad weather conditions as the reason for the stop, as constant rains was making it difficult for farmers to extract their cane from the fields, and those who were able to do so were delivering an excess amount of mud to the mill. With the industry facing major issues since the start of the crop, today Minister of Agriculture Honorable Jose Mai expressed concern for the outlook of this crop season. Despite the struggles facing the industry, Minister Mai, however, says that his government will work along with the farmers and millers to ensure that the industry can remain viable in the future.
That Belize has seen.
Yeah. From the information received, data received from the sugar delivery to the mill, looking at the condition of the cane fields, from judging from the yield from sugar cane to sugar, I believe that we'll be having one of the worst crops. One, the preliminary information is already showing that we have a drop in production of 30%. That is in the volume, but the quality of the sugar is also being affected because of stem borer and fusarium. The climate has not helped. Processing has become expensive. Transportation of sugar cane has been also expensive because of the road conditions, the mud conditions. It is just the perfect storm for the sugarcane farmers right now. And so it's going to be challenging in the next 2 years to try to bring back the sugar industry. But In 2008, let me just remind you or the public that in 2008 we had citrus greening in the citrus industry. The government did not bother to look at this industry seriously. And what we have now in 2025 is an industry that's struggling to rebound. In the last 4 years, we invested significantly in trying to bring back the citrus industry. And we are seeing improvement, marginal improvement, but we are seeing improvement in the sector. The pessimists believe that the industry is dead. I am still optimistic that the new varieties are showing good signs of tolerance to disease. And so we cannot allow what happened to the citrus industry happen to the sugar industry. So we have been very proactive. We have gone out.
With milling expected to restart in the coming days, Minister Mai says the hope is that weather conditions have improved and that the industry can rebound.
Start the milling process again?
I think that I heard yesterday that they were prepared to start the next day or two. The weather has improved. The cold front didn't bring much rainfall as we expected. So we still have many of the fields that are still soaked. So in the next few days they will make a start. And let's hope that this start won't stop again, because the farmers are really suffering. Whenever they are delivering cane, everybody's working. The truck drivers are working, the tractor operators are being paid. But when you have a 10, 12 days lull, it affects economically the livelihood of these people.
And then update on screwworms, sir. I think last time we heard we had like 4 or 5 cases.
The Elections and Boundaries Commission has made its final decision on allocation of party colors for the general election and for one party in particular. By a majority vote of 4-1, the EBC voted to allocate the traditional UDP red to all 41 candidates applying under the UDP banner. The 5-member commission, which includes 2 UDP members, voted on 3 options put forward for consideration. 1. Assigning the traditional UDP red to all 41 candidates applying under the UDP. 2. Assigning the traditional UDP red only to the 25 candidates listed by Shine Barrow. 3. Assigning the traditional UDP red only to the 15 candidates listed by Tracy Panton. In previous discussion between the EBC, it was determined that both factions would use the color red with a symbol. That decision did not sit too well with Shine Barrow, who threatened to take the matter to court. After much debate and insight of the contention between both factions, Chairman of the EBC, Oscar Sabido Puga, told the media today the commission had to push for a decision, and that is for all UDP candidates to use the color red.
We could have done it with symbols and colors. We had legal precedent for that. That was clearly established. But in order to, in effect, not force it upon them, because we would have had to force the symbol on them because they were not providing the symbol on nomination day, we had to proceed on that basis. And it had to be resolved because we had to do it, because the law requires that after the nomination, the sample ballots have to be prepared with the symbols and the colors. So there was no other waiting. The election is coming up on the 12th of March, and the law requires that we submit a publication to the Gazette within 7 days of the election. So we had to do it. But every consideration was done in respect of that. But there was no leeway given by the 2 parties. They refused, and they understand that now their responsibility is to ensure that there's no confusion. But the issue of the names that goes on the ballots next to the color will guide, and for them, no, it's their thing. They have to work that out.
What's the implication of the legal threat with only 12 days ahead before the general election?
Well, as you know, there have been previous proceedings, and the courts have not, in effect, come down to any determination that would, in effect, prevent the elections from continuing. And so it's hardly likely that they would be able to, in a sense, bring any matter before the court so quickly and have a determination.
Barrow has threatened legal action against any decision of the EBC that appears to undermine his position as party leader, while Tigger Panton appears to agree with the decision. Coming up next, a tragic murder of American realtor in Placencia sparks calls for stricter real estate regulations in Belize. Stay tuned.
Yo, Empress Melcy Productions in collaboration with Vibes Alive International presents
Reggae by the River 2025.
It's a first of its kind Sunday reggae vibes alongside the mighty New River at the Banquitas Open Lawn, featuring conscious music, delicious food and drinks, plus a wide variety of adult beverages.
Musical niceness by
David Echostone of 5-Star International, DJ Bilo of Belizean Jugglers, DJ Mix of Vibes Alive International, Mr. Jerez of Freshmatic Sound,
DJ Jesse of Rascal Sound, DJ Dynasty, Reggae Dutch.
Reserve your cocktail tables or apply for vendor space now by calling 670-9579 or 669-8233 or 612-7225. Also, bottle service will be available on local and imported. Enough prizes and giveaways. 3 for 10 Bellikin beer special between 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. while supplies last.
Sponsored by Madisco, the Belize Tourism Board, Niche, Quayos Distillery Limited, Bellikin, Belize Freights LLC Dallas, Coral Packing and Delivery Dallas, AAA Imports, Hotel Maria Isabel, Centaur Communications, Honorable Kevin Bernard, Honorable Cordell Hyde.
All going down on Sunday, March 9. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram for lineup updates and additional details.
Both local and international headlines have recently focused on the hit that was carried out on American realtor Boris Mansfield over the weekend in his home in Placencia. At this time, while no one has been charged in connection with his murder, his death points most likely to real estate wrangling gone wrong. Following that incident and others like it, Minister of Natural Resources Cordell Hyde has confirmed that legislation is inbound for more stricter regulations within that industry and the digitalization of the Lands Department. Also speaking on this matter on Wednesday, Prime Minister John Briceño said that his government has been working diligently to get that legislation passed and will be a priority in the next term.
It is difficult for me to be able to to comment on something that I don't really know. I don't know the facts. But from what I understand, Mr. Boris Mansfield, the problems that he's been facing, and he and his partner, has to do with private land, not government land, and where in some instances it's alleged that they have fraudulently forged signatures. Now, there is a process when you are transferring land from one person to the other. Maybe the people at land could have been more vigilant, probably. Maybe some may be involved, I don't know. But yes, I think there's a lot that has to be left to be done in the Lands Department. There are a number of things that we want to put into place. First of all, the DPM has given me a copy of the proposed legislation for real estate agents to regulate that industry. It is something that I started working. I had it pretty much ready when I resigned back then in 2007, but it seems that the previous government had no interest in working on that. Our DPM obviously got carried away, well, I shouldn't say got carried away, was tied up with all of these land clinics that he continues to do, and then and know that he finally have this bill ready to take to cabinet and then to the National Assembly. Well, the elections came upon us. In his mind, the timeline I think he was working was November 2025. So he did not have it ready, but to take it to the National Assembly. But we're working on that, so we have that ready, and that's going to be taken. That's going to be a priority in the next government. Secondly, we're looking at digitizing the land registry and the titles unit, because once we can digitize that, it slows down. It makes it the issue of fraudulent transaction makes it more difficult, because then there is a digital imprint of what is happening, and so we want to do that, not only to prevent fraud, but also to provide a more effective and efficient service for the private sector. And thirdly, we need to be able to digitize the land tax unit of the ministry, and see once we can digitize that, and maybe look at how the lands department can partner with the Belize tax service to be able to have a more effective and efficient ways to be able to collect land tax. I am told, and I may be wrong, that we have as much as $100 million in land tax to collect, but we collect probably maybe 10 or 20% of that. So we have to be able to digitize it, modernize it, and then to be able to collect that monies in a timely fashion.
On February 18, the High Court dismissed Jeremy Enriquez's application to stop the upcoming general election and force the government to conduct the redistricting exercise. Enriquez, via his attorney, senior counsel, Anand Ramlogan, argued that it would be unconstitutional for the election to be held without the completion of the exercise. Justice Tawanda Ondora handed down his ruling, denying the request for an interim injunction to stop the March 12 general elections. But Enriquez is not going down that easy, as he has directed his attorney, senior counsel Anand Ramlogan, to file an appeal. However, it is unknown if the matter will be concluded in time, as we are only 13 days away from the elections. To the Attorney General, Anthony Sylvester told the media that in a case management conference scheduled for Monday, March 3rd, the matter will be discussed.
Usually what takes place in a case management conference hearing before the Court of Appeal, the court makes a determination as it relates to whether all the documents which were before the High Court, whether those are ready to be prepared and bundled into what is referred to as a record of appeal. The court also gives the parties the opportunity to make different applications. I think they've made an application for expedited hearing. The government will be given an opportunity to make any application if it's so deems that is necessary. I haven't had an opportunity to review the application that they've made as well, but certainly there is the ability and the right of the government to make its counter application to the court as it relates to whether the circumstances are such, whether the court can even hear or has jurisdiction to hear this particular application for expedited hearing. And I say that because ordinarily the rules require before they hear an appeal, the settling of records, the record of appeal being completed, the matter being set down. So I imagine the appellant in this matter would be asking the court to basically expedite those processes and abridge the time for doing all of that, So we'll see, So
there's a possibility there can be enough time for it to be heard?
I'm not quite sure. The third, I'm not quite sure, but the court, I'm sure the court will deal with the matter in an impartial and a fair way and see to meet the ends of justice.
The application for interim relief brought by Enriquez and the two other claimants, Jessica Tulsi and Rudolph Norales, was heard within a span of almost 7 hours on Wednesday, February 12 by Justice Tawanda Ondora. He delivered his judgment on Tuesday, February 18th and denied the application based on what he deemed as inexplicable anomalies in the signing and authentication of affidavits and exhibits submitted. These were considered fatal deficiencies. As such, the judge found that there was no coherent application before him on which interim relief could be properly considered and a decision made. Nonetheless, Andorra did review the contents of Enriquez's affidavits, and he was not of the view that the claimants demonstrated a prima facie case and that they were entitled to the interim relief sought. Enriquez's case for interim relief was based on 3 grounds: that the Attorney General conceded in the 2019 Belize Peace Movement redistricting case, claim number 55 of 2019, that the electoral boundaries in Schedule 1 of the Representation of the People Act (ROPA) are unconstitutional, that the electoral boundaries outlined in Schedule 1 of the ROPA breach Section 90 of the Constitution, and that with this being the case, to use that schedule for the upcoming general election would breach their right to vote and their right to protection of the law. The judge addressed each ground and found that the substantive claimant, Enriquez, had not presented prima facie evidence to substantiate each claim. Upon speaking to the media today, Agriculture Minister Honorable Jose Mai today also gave an update on the country's battle with screwworm. Since its detection in early January, Minister Mai says Belize has now reported 17 cases. All cases thus far have been concentrated in the Toledo district. At this time, Minister Mai says his ministry continues to work with international agencies to have sterile flies dispersed in Belize, which will significantly reduce the number of cases in the country.
Like 17 cases of screwworms. Again, I will say to you that USDA APHIS has refused to disperse sterile flies over our territory for some strange, unknown reason. Every country in Central America has been dispersed with sterile flies. APHIS refuses to do so over Belize. So right now we're in election mode, but as soon as we get back to office, that will be the first thing on our agenda to work towards controlling the incident. And even so, the technicians in the field, Baja has done a wonderful job along with the extension officers trying to contain the cases, trying to maintain them only in Toledo in a very specific area.
I was just going to ask, is it still mainly in the south? Or is it
still in the south, spread a little up.
Local attorney Michelle Trapp Zuniga has penned a letter to the chairman of the Elections and Boundaries Department urging the inclusion of prisoners on remand and those serving sentences of 12 months or less at the Belize Central Prison in the upcoming general election scheduled for March 12, 2025. The letter underscores our belief that these individuals are constitutionally entitled to vote and highlight the implication of denying them this fundamental right. Zuniga's letter, dated February 26, 2025, points out that under the Constitution of Belize, the disenfranchisement of these prisoners is not warranted. Denying them the right to participate in the democratic process would be a violation of their fundamental human rights, she states. The correspondence has also been shared with the Chief Executive Officer of the Belize Central Prison and the Attorney General, indicating a push for a broader discussion on the matter. Nevertheless, the implementation of voting rights for inmates may encounter significant hurdles due to existing legal and logistical frameworks. Currently, Belize lacks provisions for distance voting, absentee ballots, or mail-in voting options, creating a narrow path forward for facilitating participation among the incarcerated. The challenges are twofold. Setting up polling stations within prisons would require formal designation, staffing, and security measures. Alternatively, transporting inmates to regular polling stations raises serious security concerns, potential logistical complications, and public dissent disregarding the safety and feasibility of such a measure. Today, when asked about the request, Attorney General Anthony Sylvester indicated that his office was yet to receive the correspondence.
I don't know if this is some previous correspondence have been sent, but I read the not the document, the social media post, and the impression it gave is that some letter was sent yesterday or recently, but as far as our office is concerned, we haven't received any such document recently.
But if you were to receive one, and the Elections and Boundaries Commission and Department,
they would have to. Well, I'm not saying that they would clearly have to review it. They would send it to our office and we'd review, and they would seek our advice on the matter.
This is the first time that something like this is being raised, though.
Yes, to my knowledge, but what I should point out though is that before someone could even entertain the prospects of voting, they have to be on the voters list. You know, so those are all of those are things which clearly would have to be looked at. You know, so as I said, we didn't receive anything yesterday, but certainly once it's received, we certainly would advise election and voters properly as it relates to how to treat and deal with the matter.
As it stands, without necessary legislative amendments to introduce alternative voting methods, the pathway for prisoners to exercise their voting rights remains fraught with complexity and uncertainty. And here is more news after the break. Stay tuned.
Power outage notice. Belize Electricity Limited advises its customers in the Orange Rock District and portion of the Corozal District that the supply of electricity will be temporarily interrupted on Sunday, March 2nd, 2025 from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Areas to be affected: the entire Orange Rock District, including Buena Vista and Caledonia in the Corozal District. BEL apologizes for the inconvenience caused. This scheduled power outage is necessary to conduct system improvement works and maintenance of the equipment at the Orange Rock substation. You can download our BEL 24/7 app for direct updates.
Chief Justice Honorable Louise Esther Blenman and the senior courts of Belize held a special ceremony to honor the elevation of 4 distinguished attorneys at law to the status of senior counsel. Melissa Balderramos Mahler, Ashanti Arthurs Martin, Priscilla Jennifer Banner, and Honorable Attorney General Anthony Sylvester have been recognized for their exemplary service and contributions to the legal profession. After the ceremony, the media was able to get reactions from now senior counsels Anthony Sylvester and Priscilla Jennifer Banner.
But certainly for me, coming from the place where I came from, the south side of Belize City, as I had explained, coming of age in the 1990s, when literally the gang warfare started in Belize, seeing many of my colleagues, people who I grew up with, were friends, later becoming enemies, choosing sides and later dying. Certainly is an indication to me that the Heavenly Father, though I'm not a practicing Christian, but the Heavenly Father has interceded and moved His hand to guide and protect me, throughout these years, and for that I'm very, very grateful. The process, as I am made to understand, is that it's not an application process, but attorneys named who are considered for the elevation, it's submitted by the General Legal Counsel, and then the Chief Justice considers and deliberates and then makes a determination. No?
I must say that this has been a wonderful experience, the practice of the law. It has been wonderful not only because of the colleagues that I have that I work along with, the Silks who teach us a lot. As you heard in my speech earlier, we have a lot of Silks senior counsel who are they give us a lot of good lessons as to how to treat with the court, how to treat with our clients and civil society. So overall, this entire experience has been remarkable for me. And essentially, it is about being an ethical person. It is about practicing ethics throughout your profession. It is about being reasonable with clients and representing them when perhaps sometimes they're at their lowest. It is about giving back to society, providing pro bono services to help the less fortunate in our society. It is about applying yourself in the practice of the law and ensuring that you do your job to the best of your ability.
During the ceremony, Chief Justice Blendman emphasized that with this title comes a heightened responsibility to uphold integrity, professionalism, and ethical leadership. She reminded the newly appointed senior counsel that their colleagues and the public will look to them as exemplars of legal excellence, urging them to continue serving with distinction and preserving the profession's esteemed reputation. The Office of the Prime Minister and Ministry of Investment through the Investment Policy and Compliance Unit IPCU, in collaboration with the National Women's Commission NWC, the Taiwan Technical Mission, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the Belize Permaculture and Renewable Energy Limited, and the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Transport through the Western Region Youth Training Institute of the Department of Youth Services officially launched the second phase of the project titled Vanilla Training for Women and Girls in the west and south of Belize in Belmopan City. In this phase of the project, 30 women from the Cayo district were selected to receive a training in growing and harvesting vanilla with the goal of increasing their income-generating opportunities. The project will provide hands-on training to women and young people on propagating and establishing vanilla vines in Belize, as well as introduce farmers to harvesting and post-harvest treatment of the crop, establish the second public vanilla propagation nursery in Belize, and provide 10 vanilla cuttings to each of the 30 women, allowing them to cultivate the plants in their home gardens. With interest from several international companies in purchasing Belizean-grown vanilla, the government recognizes the economic opportunity that exists in a global market. Present at the opening ceremony were Honorable Rodwell Ferguson, Minister of Youth, Sports and Transport, Valentino Schall, Chief Executive Officer in Ministry of Youth, Sports and Transport, Roberto Pan, Chief of Mission of the Taiwan Technical Mission, Lincoln Blake, Director of the IPCU in the Ministry of Investment, Eleanor Murillo, Executive Director of the National Women's Commission, Indira Log, Director of the Department of Youth Services, and Indira Usher, Foreign Service Officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. The instructors of the course are Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Nesbitt of Belize Permaculture and Renewable Energy Limited. And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Friday, February 28th here on CTV3 News and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3belizenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/CTV3Belize News or our YouTube channel at CTV3 News BZ. We ask you to stay in tune for the airing of the Pup Manifesto Launch taking place in San Ignacio. From all of us here at CTV3 News, thank you for watching and listening. Good night.